Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pistons Nation podcast on July 17th. I'm here with Cal Novara and Aaron Johnson, and we're going to be discussing a wide variety of topics today. And our first topic is about the rumors that the Pistons are interested in acquiring Ty Lawson from the Denver Nuggets. Aaron wrote an article about these rumors today, pistonsnation.net. Lawson was recently arrested for DUI, his second in the last 6 months, which means that the Nuggets are trying to trade him, especially after drafting Emmanuel Mudiay in the 2015 NBA draft. So the Pistons are reportedly interested with him along with two other teams. Cal, I know you don't like this, so let's get your thoughts on it first.
I don't like it. I think he's a locker room problem. As you said, he's having trouble off the court. That's something that past Pistons teams struggled with. I don't think that's something this team needs. And the other thing is, I just don't think we need another point guard. We got Steve Blake. We just got him in a trade for Quincy Miller. We have Spencer Dinwiddie. We have Brandon Jennings. We have Reggie Jackson. I don't see a need for another point guard here. Now, many people have been discussing, is he better than Brandon Jennings? That's debatable. We don't know where Jennings is after his injury. But I definitely don't think it's necessary that we get Ty Lawson. I think it would be a totally ridiculous move, and I just don't see any for it.
Aaron, what are your thoughts?
I like Lawson as a player. He led the league, was third in the league in assists per game. He averaged 9 assists a game, scored 15 points on a bad Nuggets team. But he's been the leader of that team, so he has a bit of a leadership role on the court. Off the court, those problems, DUI for the second time in 6 months. That's just, you gotta help yourself if you have that kind of problem. And if he does get the help, then he could be a serviceable player in the NBA. I don't know if he'll ever be a starter again, but he's definitely a guy that can come off the bench and score a few six-man role, like an Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics. And if that's what the Pistons want, if they're not sure how Jennings is going to come back, because I don't think Steve Blake is a second-string point guard in the NBA anymore, at least. So I think keeping Jennings or trading for Ty Lawson or, maybe a different point guard that can score off the bench, just getting one of those guys. But if we are going to trade for Ty Lawson, as I wrote in my article, I was doing some trade ideas, and I like the idea of Brandon Jennings going to the Houston Rockets. The Rockets need some scoring, guard play. Patrick Beverley might not be starter potential. He's been hurt. He's great on defense, but James Harden needs some help scoring the ball. So if Brandon Jennings went to Houston and then Houston sent Kostas Papanikolaou, a small forward who they've kind of stashed away, along with Donis Moniunas, who's a stretch four guy that can score, over to Denver, and we get Ty Lawson, I think that'd be a fair trade. And Denver gets to continue their build around foreign-like players, and Moniunas would be very serviceable for them. He'd probably start alongside Kenneth Faried, maybe come off the bench. I think all around that trade would go well for all three teams. But if I'm going to pick a guy that can come off the bench for the Pistons and score, however many points a game, I'm going to take Jennings just because I've seen Jennings and, I know more about his ability to play.
Aaron, could you imagine if, the Pistons made a trade for Ty Lawson, but it didn't involve shipping out Brandon Jennings? Instead of it was like maybe Dinwiddie, Steve Blake, and another guy. Could you imagine if we had Jennings and Lawson on the same team and how many problems that would create? And that's the problem is if we do trade for Ty Lawson, which I don't think is going to happen, I think it would have to involve Brandon Jennings. I think there's no way that the Pistons would keep Brandon Jennings, Ty Lawson, and Reggie Jackson all on the same team. I don't see that being a possibility whatsoever. So that's why I don't like the trade. I would go with the guy that we know how he's going to play on this team. That's Brandon Jennings. I mean, there is questions coming off his injury, but I would still rather have Jennings than Ty Lawson at this point for locker room problems from that standpoint, and because, like Aaron said, we've seen him play on this team before.
Yeah, and Jennings is more of a scoring guard, which is what Detroit's going to need off the bench to, kind of help with the bench play, because we don't really have an identified scorer off the bench besides Jennings, if that's what his role will be. But here's the thing with Jennings' injury is it's not really going to affect his scoring because Jennings liked to play outside more. He wasn't, a guy that was going to take it inside a ton. He was either going to shoot mid-range or he was going to shoot threes. And, I think he's had time to work on that, and I think that's what he'll be a bit better at this season. So, like I said, I think keeping Jennings would be more valuable.
Like Aaron said, Ty Lawson is a really good passer, third in the NBA assists per games. He created nearly 23 points off assists, which was third to Chris Paul and John Wall. So very good creator, very good distributor. And the stats show, although Jennings has very good court vision, that Lawson just might be a better passer. Lawson is also more efficient driving to the basket. So I think Lawson brings more on-court value than Jennings. And Jennings is coming off an injury. So an Achilles injury is very hard to come back from. So we might not be 100%. And at the same time, though, Ty Lawson, he has the off-the-court issues. And Jennings is really the only player that they probably could get for Ty Lawson at this point with his off-the-court issues. So I agree. Jennings would be involved in the trade. I don't see him not being involved. But I think it's just too big of a risk to bring in Ty Lawson and the assets we'd have to give away. And I think it's a bigger risk than trading Jennings and his injury issues. So Lawson would be a great backup point guard, very good off the bench, very good creator, but it's just too big of a risk with his off-the-court issues, like I said. And I think just keeping Jennings, seeing how his injury plays out, would just be the better option at this point.
And one more thing is that although this was reported earlier this morning, this rumor could also be from maybe a few weeks back before Detroit moved Quincy
Steve
Miller
Blake.
for Steve Blake.
Right. Rumors are never for sure, you guys. Like, it could be very false.
Right.
But Anthony, like you were saying, I don't think any of us are denying that Ty Lawson really does bring something on the court. He really does.
Yeah.
None of us are denying that.
Very good.
He shows up and he's a solid point guard in the NBA. None of us are denying that. What we're trying to say is we don't know how the fit would be here. You can't trust the off-the-court issues. And we want to see how Brandon Jennings recovers and how his return plays out, because he could come back just as good as he left. We don't know. So I think that Stan Van Gundy is going to have to evaluate on that, see how Brandon Jennings is going to do next season, because I think he will be a Detroit Piston at the start of next season. I truly and firmly believe that. But, Ty Lawson is a great point guard, but nobody's denying that. But I definitely think, and all of us think, that it would be too big of a risk to trade for him right now.
Right. And about Jennings, do you guys think that he will be traded? Even if he does return, traded sometime throughout the season?
I'll go because I know what I'm going to say. I think Jennings will be moved, whether it's before the season or at the trade deadline. I guess at this moment, I think it's going to be before the season, just because with all these rumors and Stan Van Gundy already making a move for Steve Blake, you're not just going to sit Dinwiddie and Blake on the bench for half of the season and then say, okay, now we'll move Jennings, and now you guys are going to have to learn your way to play, 15 minutes a game when you maybe have seen 4 or 5 a night. I think it'd be the best move, too, because we don't know how Jennings is going to be. Maybe we'd get a bit more value if we waited until we saw how he came back. But I think right now we need to figure out either if we're going to go get a better power forward to start, or, whether we want to strengthen our, small forward or center position behind Andre Drummond. But I think there's more we need to do than keep Brandon Jennings. I think Steve Blake and Spencer Dinwiddie can handle the point guard backup positions while Jennings isn't on the team anymore. And, eventually it's going to happen. So why not sooner rather than later?
Right. Jennings will be an unrestricted free agent after this season. And really, it's hard seeing him return to the Pistons after this season with Jackson, with us having to pay Drummond this offseason. I don't know if we'll have the cap resources. And I just can't see him coming back to Detroit after this season. So I think we need to move him for assets now, get players in return for him instead of just letting him walk. So I think we need to get assets for Drummond or for Jennings sometime throughout the season instead of just letting him walk. So I think it will happen. It's just a matter of when, how, that kind of stuff.
You guys both made very valid and good points, but I'm gonna go ahead here and disagree with you. For some reason, I think, and this is just a gut feeling, I think Jennings is going to come back and have a good season. And I think that last year we saw a very mature Jennings. I think we saw him become more of a team player than he ever was in his career. I think he really started to become a Detroit Piston for the first time last season on that winning streak. And just really the way he was acting, he was really becoming a team guy. Before it seemed like he was more about himself. That being said, I think he's going to do everything in his power to come back better than ever. And I do think he'll come back and have a good season. I think he's actually going to be okay with coming off the bench, as strange as that sounds. I think he'll be okay coming off the bench as a sixth man. And I really just I want to see this happen, and I want to see it work out good for Jennings, because I think he could really help us off the bench, and I think he's going to have a good year. That being said, will we re-sign him after he becomes a free agent? I don't know. That's very questionable. But this season, I think he's going to be important to us. And to be honest, I'd rather have Jennings be our backup point guard than Dinwiddie and Steve Blake. I'd be more confident in that, especially with a franchise that's trying to make the playoffs for the first time next season in like the last 6 years. So, yeah, I would go I'm going to stick with my idea that we're going to keep Jennings next season, see how he plays out. I think he's going to play out well, and maybe we'll re-sign him. That's very questionable, but that's where I see happening.
I definitely have to disagree with that, because we signed Reggie Jackson to a 5-year, $80 million extension.
Yeah, he's definitely the franchise point guard. I'm not arguing that.
And a few years ago, we had Ronnie Stuckey on our team, and we drafted Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And it was kind of like, yeah, you're on our team now, but you're not going to be here anymore. Or maybe, I can't remember if it was Ronnie Stuckey or it might have been Brandon Knight. I'm not sure which. But basically we said, you're not going to be here anymore. You're going to be gone, and this is our guy. And I feel like that's what we're pretty much saying by re-signing Reggie Jackson. Sure, Brandon Jennings was, after Josh Smith was released, he was very good. But unfortunately, he suffered a big injury that impacts many players' career for the worse. So, and then we found, I think, a gem in Reggie Jackson. He was never going to start in OKC, and we got a very good trade. I think we got a steal, because we gave up Kyle Singler and then
DJ
Augustine. And Reggie Jackson, after he kind of found his role here in Detroit and found his game, he put up John Wall numbers, and he was fantastic, all-star in my opinion, like through that stretch of games.
And you got to remember that Brandon Jennings, he's not our starting point guard anymore. Think of him as a backup point guard for the Pistons. I think Brandon Jennings, even coming off the injury, with the player he is, as a backup point guard, he's got to be great. Like, Brandon Jennings is a backup point guard. Are you kidding me? I'd want Brandon Jennings as a backup point guard way more than I'd want Dinwiddie or Blake, like I said earlier. So I don't see where you could go wrong with having Jennings as a backup point guard for a year, other than when Anthony said, you'd want to get assets for him. But, I mean, we're trying to make the playoffs next season, I think. And I think the best chance of that is having Jennings be the backup point guard. And I think he brings the most talent to that backup point guard position. As far as starting point guard goes, obviously it's Reggie Jackson. He's the best point guard on this team. He just got his 5-year contract. Our trust is in him. But while we still have Jennings under contract for 1 year, why not let him play that backup point guard position where we know he can excel, where he hopefully can excel. So that's just my view on it. You know, I wouldn't feel confident having Dinwiddie and Blake as a backup point guards. I think it would actually be a bad thing. I think Jennings would definitely be the better backup.
So look at it this way. We have Spencer Dinwiddie, who we drafted back in 2014.
I love the guy. I'm not sure if he's ready for that immediate backup point guard role.
Right, but I definitely don't see us, even if we keep Jennings, I don't see us re-signing him, because one, he's going to want a lot of money, and two, we have to re-sign Andre Drummond. But Spencer Dinwiddie is eventually going to be our backup point guard.
Yes.
And Detroit isn't going to win a championship this year. Uh-huh. So why not give Spencer Dinwiddie the minutes, let him continue his developing, because he did not look that well in the Orlando Summer League, and he needs a lot of work to his game. And a lot of the times, just getting minutes is what's going to help that.
Yeah.
So I think we need to develop him and then move Jennings for assets that are going to come off the bench, or, you know, potentially a starting power forward, which is a area where I really think we need to address, because I just don't know how well Ersan is going to be able to produce in starting minutes. But if we keep Jennings, we're basically saying you're here for one more year and then kind of done. And I think, why not get value off of him when we have our backup point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie.
I agree with the part that Jennings would be a very good backup point guard, even if he can return to 75% of the player he once was. Still be a very good backup point guard.
That's what I'm saying.
One of the probably the best backup point guard in the NBA, if not one of the best. But like Aaron said, he's going to leave in free agency most likely, and Dinwiddie is going to be our guy, and Steve Blake could be that guy. We brought him in for a reason, whether you like it or not. And Dinwiddie is going to be our future point guard, and it's hard seeing Jennings a part of the future for the Pistons going forward. It's hard seeing him be a part of it with the upcoming free agency. But I do see Dinwiddie as a part of the Pistons' future. We draft him for reasons. Sam Gundy has a lot of confidence in him. And last season, he showed flashes of being a really good player.
For sure.
So I think we need to get the assets for Jennings now, because I just don't think he's part of the Pistons' future plans, and I don't see it working.
Guys, I'm a huge Spencer Dinwiddie fan. Let me just say that. I love the guy. And I really, really do believe, that he is the future at the point guard position for the Pistons. That being said, it seems like you guys are looking more into the future than next season. See, me, I'm looking strictly in the next season. I'm not looking 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 4 years ahead. I'm looking straight in the next season. I'm thinking, what is the best chance for us to win? And I'm thinking it's Brandon Jennings at the backup point guard position. But like you said, you do got to build the future. You want Dinwiddie to get minutes. I think that we could pull it off. I think Brandon Jennings could be the backup point guard, and Dinwiddie could still get minutes. That's why I hated the Steve Blake trade so much, is because I think it's totally unnecessary to have him here. But that's our next topic, I believe. So, I mean, we could get into that too.
Well, let's stick to this topic a little bit. All right. So last season without Josh Smith and with Reggie Jackson and the team we had the last 27 games this season, that team did fairly well. I don't know their record in those 27 games, but that team looked good. And we have more talent now with Ilyasova, Stanley Johnson. Sure, we lost Monroe, but did he fit the system? No. So we got Ilyasova, we got Stanley Johnson, we got Marcus Morris. Mm-hmm. Jennings will be back, at least for part of the season, if we don't trade him. Mm-hmm. And look at the Magic teams that Stan Van Gundy led to the playoffs. Can you really say that we don't have as much talent, if not more talent, than those teams?
I think we do have more talent than that Magic team that went to the finals.
I think the playoffs are a realistic hope.
Even without Jennings, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, even without Jennings and Dinwiddie and Blake as the backup point guards, I think that it's still a realistic hope to make the playoffs, even without Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my take on it. With or without Jennings, the Detroit roster is not nearly as talented as it could be if it was going to compete in the East. I can see us squeaking out a 7th or 8th place spot, but the East has, especially through free agency, they've just gotten a lot better. And, the bottom half is going to be a mosh pit. It's going to be a bloodbath to see who's going to be, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however that goes. Because really, it's up for grabs. There's the Raptors, the Pistons, the Hornets made moves. The Celtics want to get back there.
Yep.
There's just a slew of teams that just want to.
Celtics have a great future.
Right. There's just a lot of teams that want to get into that playoff spot. So there's really no margin for error for Detroit. They're either they keep Jackson, or either they keep Jennings, or they keep Dinwiddie and Blake. I think one of those. I think the decision has to be made before the season starts, because ruining the chemistry mid-season, we saw with the Jackson trade, it took them a while to get back into their form.
Yes, it did.
All right, so you think that we need to trade Jennings before the season?
Correct.
That's a scary thing.
I don't know how many teams are going to be interested in him coming off the injury. I think teams are going to need to see how he comes back from the injury before they make a very big investment in trading away valuable assets for Jennings. I think teams need to see how he recovers, how he is. I don't think teams could just make that big of an investment in Jennings off this injury.
That's the problem with trying to trade a injured player, because he is a totally different player. This is not, you're not getting the Brandon Jennings you saw. It is a totally new athlete almost. He's going to have to adjust his game. Sometimes players even have to adjust their shot with their injury. It's rare, but, we don't know how he's going to come back. And I guess that's the tricky thing is, Aaron, you want to trade him before the season so we don't ruin the chemistry in the middle of the season. And you want to get assets for him, but we might be able to get more assets for the future if he turns out to be a good player even after the injury and trade him in the middle of the season. So it's very tricky. And, with me, I don't know. It is a very, very difficult thing to decide on when we should trade Brandon Jennings or if we even will trade him. But any way you look at it, we know he's not going to be a Detroit Piston in a year. After the season, it's done. So we have to really Stan Van Gundy really has to handle the situation well if we want to have a bright future in this league. So,
and what made Jennings such a valuable player over his career was his speed. He was so quick. He could beat people off the dribble, pull up for shots, and he was known for his energy, his speed, his quickness, and those are all the things that will be affected by this Achilles injury. He won't be as fast. He can't even run yet, and there's no guarantee that he'll be 100% even by training camp. So it's really just too big of a risk for other teams to give up players, especially if we're looking at starter caliber players, for Jennings. And it's just too big of a risk, and I think teams are just going to need to see how he comes back. And if he does come back and get better, we could get more assets than we could now with his injury. So,
quick question for you guys. Would you guys rather have Ty Lawson be our backup point guard next season or Dinwiddie and Blake? Now, I know obviously talent-wise you'd go with Lawson, but as you said earlier, you want to let the young talent Dinwiddie play, and you think Steve Blake's a solid point guard. So, where would you guys go with that? I was just curious.
I'd go Dinwiddie and Blake.
You would? I think I would too, to be honest. I really would. And basketball fans, you guys might be a little bit mad about that because you're going to say Ty Lawson's a much better point guard, but it's not always about, the better talent right now, because Dinwiddie's going to turn into a great talent. I'll tell you right now, I'm telling you that kid is going to be great. That being said, I think I would go with Dinwiddie and Blake as well.
And taking on Lawson, his off-the-court issues, his contract, I think would hurt us more than it would help us because we aren't going to have as much cap room. We're going to have to monitor him and his lifestyle off the court. So I think that it's going to hurt us more than it would help us
for sure
to bring in Lawson. So I think we stick with Dinwiddie and Blake for now.
And your NBA 2K rating can be great, but it doesn't mean you fit with that roster whatsoever. Chemistry-wise, I play 2K. I know that if I'm going to put Ty Lawson on my bench, he's going to get frustrated, and that might be the problem we run into with him.
Definitely, for sure. All right, we're going to switch gears into that Steve Blake, Quincy Miller trade now. And I know you guys weren't too thrilled about it. You guys both really like Quincy Miller. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on this trade? I know we talked about it a little bit before, but
look, man, I just don't know how Stan Van can do that. I see a young, talented player in Quincy Miller, and then we throw him away for a 36-year-old Steve Blake. And I don't know. I like Quincy Miller. I've always wanted him to be here. And then when that happened, I was just kind of like, well, what? Why? Why? But that just adds to the rumors that Brandon Jennings is moving. So I guess that's where I kind of came to terms with the trade. And I said, okay, I know what Stan Van's doing, but I really hope, because reportedly Quincy Miller was or is going to be waived by the Nets. Mm-hmm. I really hope Quincy Miller finds a home, because I think that guy.
Let's resign him if he gets waived.
No, you can't do that. Actually, it's against the.
But seriously, I hope that player finds a home, because I think he could be a very solid rotation player in the future when given a chance.
But you look at Quincy Miller and you look at the Pistons roster. How many players do we have with the exact same skill set as Quincy Miller who do it better? Let's see. We have Miller is a combination between a 3 and a 4. Marcus Morris is better at that. He's 22.
Oh, 22. I'm sorry.
He's 22.
22 years old.
But that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to be a good player. He hasn't found an NBA home for a reason. There are just so many players who do it better. Even Reggie Bullock, I think, is better than him.
Oh my God! Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Reggie Bullock
Here's
is
what I gotta
better
say
than
about
Quincy
this.
Miller.
You got a 22-year-old guy
And
who has potential in this league to be a stud. And Aaron, you said he could play the power forward position, rotate him between the 3 and 4. Why not at least keep this kid around for a couple years? If he doesn't turn out, where is it hurting us? Because we're not getting a 38-year-old washed-up point guard when we already have our future backup point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't understand this at all. And this is the thing. I trust Stan Van Gundy, and trust me, I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to make good decisions. But it's decisions like these that I do not understand. You trade a 22-year-old, like I said, with tons of potential, who could, be a future Pistons star for a
Whoa. We didn't take star.
He could be.
No. Cal.
star.
Rotation player.
Yeah.
Rotation.
A future star rotation player in Quincy Miller, okay? A future star rotation player in Quincy Miller, who's 22 years old, ladies and gentlemen, and he has time to develop. And there were great talks about what he was doing in the offseason and his workouts and the way he was looking. So why not keep him around for a couple years and see how he turns out? And why would you waste that on Steve Blake?
Okay.
There's no reason for Steve Blake to be here, and you know that.
How many small forwards did we have on the roster? 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's name off small forwards.
Okay.
Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
Much better than Quincy
Well, he's
Miller.
probably going to be the starter.
Stanley Johnson. Much better than Quincy Miller.
You can't
Well,
say he's much better yet.
I wouldn't say much better, but
We haven't seen him
he
in the
is
NBA
better.
yet.
I would say Stanley Johnson's the better.
Yes, he is.
I would say he's a better talent right now.
People would think right now because they haven't seen him
yes,
head to
okay.
head or whatever.
Danny
That's-
Granger, if we keep him.
Yeah.
Better player.
If he's
Even in
healthy.
his old age.
Yeah.
When healthy. Better player. Reggie Bullock, you guys don't agree, but I think he is better. He just hasn't had that opportunity like Quincy Miller. And who else? Cartier Martin. Cartier Martin has
Don't
been.
say he's better. Don't say he's better.
He has been better. He wasn't better last season, but he has been better over his
What
career.
were his stats last season?
Martin, not very good, but
2.9 minutes a game.
he's averaged 7 points before. Yeah.
Reggie Martin.
So I think Quincy Miller never was going to play. He never was going to get that opportunity in Detroit with all our small forwards and all our forwards. And Jennings is going to get traded. We need that insurance at the point guard spot.
See, that's
And Steve Blake is no
Oh.
longer a very good backup point guard, but
Yeah, so why make the
he
trade?
is better than Quincy Miller,
Look,
and
Steve
he feels the need at point guard when Jennings is traded.
That's the
and
problem with Quincy
he's-
Miller. Who's giving him a chance? Who is actually giving?
He's
Quincy?
not getting a chance for a reason.
No.
Steve Blake's 36. You're trading a 22-year-old guy that can play the 2, 3, or 4 for a 35-plus-year-old player that's going to retire.
Quincy
in 2
Miller has
seasons
not had the
and cannot
opportunity
produce
that
at
he
a
And he
deserves.
hasn't gotten that opportunity for a reason.
What? Because they don't see them.
He's 22 years old, man.
Exactly.
You got to give this kid
So?
a solidified chance. You got to give him
He
more
has-
than
he
5
had that
minutes.
See,
chance
if
in
this
Denver.
trade happened in the middle of the season where, Quincy Miller, we gave him a chance, to get a couple minutes and he did nothing.
Exactly.
And he got a couple opportunities and then we traded for Blake, it would make more sense. But you trade for 36-year-old, 37-year-old, whatever he is, Steve Blake, and now you got a washed-up backup point guard for no
Okay.
reason. And he doesn't add – I don't think he really gives you that extra protection in that position that you need. I think you
Okay,
got
fine.
Spencer Dinwiddie. I think you got Reggie Jackson, and I think you got Brandon Jennings. I think those three guys right there are good at the point guard position.
Jennings probably won't be ready by the start of the season.
Okay.
Dinwiddie's not ready to step into that backup
Is
role.
Steve Blake ready to
Steve-
step in that backup?
Yes, he is. He has been a backup point guard his whole career.
So I'm so scared. If Steve Blake is the backup point guard coming off the bench by the start of the season, I'm scared.
We're in
that
for a
scares
rude
me.
awakening.
That does scare me. That honestly really does scare me. I can't.
He
have
can
Steve-
run an offense.
I-
He can shoot. He brings that veteran leadership and presence.
Oh yeah.
What did Quincy Miller bring?
We got in this
To our
argument.
team.
Nobody's gonna listen to Steve Blake on this team.
What did Quincy Miller bring?
Potential.
Let's look
Potential.
at
What-
Steve
when
Blake's
was-
stats. 19 minutes a game, 4 points.
And then pull up Quincy
36.
Miller's stats. What was that?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
4
he got
minutes?
19 minutes a game. He got 19 minutes a game, and Quincy Miller was lucky to get 3 or 4. That's a big difference. Steve Blake isn't our future. Why are we going to bring in a guy that isn't going to be a part of our future? He's going to stay here for 1 year, and he's probably not going to see the floor because either Jennings is going to play good or Spencer Dinwiddie's going to play good. One of those guys is going to end up working out, and Steve Blake's going to be stuck at the bottom of our bench, and we're not going to have Quincy Miller, who's probably going to get signed by a team, and he'll probably get minutes because Quincy Miller.
Look what happened with Chris Middleton. Just saying, like nobody thought he was going to be anything.
You can't compare those two.
Why not?
Because Middleton, his first season, averaged 6 points.
We didn't really give Chris Middleton an opportunity. He got some minutes, and then we totally just threw that away.
But he was very good in his minutes. You can't really say Quincy Miller was good.
Minutes, though.
Yeah,
Chris Middleton really deserved those minutes? No, it's because we gave him an opportunity. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I mean, Quincy Miller. Okay, so Anthony, you're saying you like the trade and you like not having Quincy Miller.
I wouldn't say I like it, but
Steve Blake.
Okay, let me ask you this:
Quincy Miller is never going to be anything in the NBA.
Ooh, how can you say that? One opportunity by one
Chris
team,
Middleton was never supposed to be
Right.
anything in the NBA.
Exactly.
You got to give him a chance. All right, let's look at these stats. In 14.5 minutes a
He
game.
got an opportunity in Denver, 52 games. And what'd he do? Very little.
Okay, how many minutes did he get in that?
He got
15 minutes, 36%, barely 5 points.
Yeah, he shot 36%.
Was that his first game in his NBA career that he actually played?
No, it was his first season, 7 games. Couldn't get any minutes. Second season, he got that opportunity, and he didn't produce.
Look, here's the thing, though. He started in 16 games, so those minutes are skewed a bit because you have to average them out with the bench minutes that he got. It just – look, the kid's 22. I don't understand how you can take a 35-year-old over a 22-year-old.
It's all about the fit. It's
right,
not
it
about,
is, but
it's not
we
about
knew that
the
Quincy
potential.
Miller
If it's about the fit, I don't think Steve Blake fits here at all.
How?
Quincy
He
Miller
fits
didn't
better
ruin the
than
chemistry.
Quincy Miller.
Quincy Miller never ruined the chemistry. He was a very static player off the bench. He was a joy to watch off the bench.
Yeah.
Some of his
In
reactions
4
were
games.
amazing.
Yeah.
In 4 games.
I enjoy them.
Look, okay, I just don't understand. You're taking a 4th-string, 35-year-old point guard over 35-year-old point guard instead of a 22-year-old guy that can play 3 different positions and has potential to be a stretch 4, come off the bench. Anthony Tolliver, he's getting up there. He's probably 30, 31. How long is he going to be a decent player in the NBA to where he can come off the bench? It's questions, those are the questions I have with Stanley.
Okay, Aaron, I think
Quincy Miller wasn't in the NBA for a majority of last season. We signed him to a 10-day contract. You're trying to say that you want a guy who can't even stick in the NBA, can't even be in the NBA for a majority of the season over a backup point guard who's played in, 800 games in his career, who fits the roster, who will produce for us, over a guy who can't stick in the NBA, who, although he's 22, I haven't seen any potential from him. I just don't get where you guys are coming from on this. And we have a load of guards.
Yeah, that's the problem. We have a load of guards.
I think the problem is Anthony has a man crush on Steve
No,
Blake. I think that's what's going on
alike.
here.
No.
I think Anthony has a man crush
I have a man
on
crush
Steve
on Mario
Blake.
Azonja, but not Steve Blake.
Oh, yeah,
Mario is the guy.
Stanley's better.
And Chris
I'm done discussing
Kristaps
Steve Blake.
Porzingis is the man.
Kristaps the man.
Yeah, I love
He's the man.
Kristaps.
He's about to get buckets in New York.
All right.
Oh,
Only.
Oh God. No.
Yeah, he is.
No.
Have you seen him in the summer league?
No.
He's been balling.
Kristaps Porzingis? What? No.
Oh. He's 7'3" and he can shoot.
Those New York fans are gonna tear that guy apart. I'm telling you that right now.
Only on Pistons Nation do we argue about
The New York Knicks.
and a team a trade that's probably not going to alter the Pistons roster at all. 2 scrubby players, and then we would have heated arguments about that.
Hey, you heard it here first. Quincy Miller is going to be an all-star.
You heard here first that he's never going to do anything in the NBA.
I like to see Kyle Singler and Quincy Miller on the same team. I think they'd be a duo right there, man.
Yeah.
3 and 4.
Like you said, Kyle
2
Singler,
all-stars.
future all-star.
I did say that. I also predicted that we would trade for DJ Augustine a year in advance, and it happened. So
You know what? I'm pretty sad because I predicted the Quincy Miller signing, and then 2 hours later it happened.
I think you're a little biased just because you love him.
Look, I think
you're
love
biased
his
because
game.
you love Steve Blake.
Yeah, you know
I
what?
don't love Steve
Anthony, I
Blake.
think you like Steve
I don't
Blake.
love
Yeah,
Steve
there's a
Blake at
special
all.
connection between you
No,
and Steve
I don't
Blake. There
love
is.
Steve Blake.
There's a-
I
Do
actually
you
really
follow
don't
you on
like him.
Instagram or something?
No,
What the heck?
I actually don't like Steve
Comments
Blake a
hearts
whole
on all
lot.
of his pictures.
No, I don't.
Okay. Next topic.
All right. Our next topic, probably get into another argument here.
This is gonna get intense.
Should Stanley Johnson start next season as small forward? I know Cal says yes. We both say no. Let's get Cal's take on it first.
You drafted this guy 8th overall.
Jesus.
You guys drafted this guy 8th overall before Justice Winslow, which a lot of people were upset about. I think all three of us were like a little bit besides you.
No.
Besides you.
Stan-
Me and
Stanley's
Anthony
better.
questioned it a little bit when it first happened, but now we're okay with it. The guy's aggressive as hell. We've seen him play in the summer league. He's looking really, really good.
But it's
You're-
the summer league.
You want to build your future around him. You just talked about
Over
giving-
Drummond? We're going to build our future on Stanley
Listen,
Johnson over Drummond?
Listen, no. Let me talk.
I said.
Reggie Jackson, KCP, Stanley Johnson, and Drummond. Those are your four guys right there that you're going to be looking at as your future. Why not start them next season? Because we're going to go to a championship? No, we're not. We're competing for the 7th and 8th seed. Will Marcus Morris really be that better of a small forward
Yes.
than Stanley Johnson?
Yes.
I don't think so. And that's where I think the main disagreement is. I don't think Marcus Morris is going to be that much of an improvement from Stanley Johnson. Maybe in the first quarter of the season, maybe I'll even say in the first half. But will that be that big of a difference? No, I don't think
There will
so.
be.
I think Stanley Johnson, if you put him in there and you give him the experience, I think this kid's going to
Marcus
develop
Morris.
faster. And I think he's going to help our starting five. And I think that he is going to be very, very, very good. And I don't see Marcus Morris being the deciding factor on whether or not he can be a starter or not. Because, quite frankly, I think Marcus Morris is a solid NBA player, but I don't think he is a good NBA player.
Did you watch Contavious Caldwell-Pope his rookie season?
Yes.
Did you see?
Remember how bad he was?
Yeah. Did you see the nights where he didn't score?
He had great
20
nights,
minutes?
though. He had
Very few.
He's
There was
about
a
as
span.
inconsistent as you can get.
There was a span where he didn't get a point, rebound, assist, block, steal, turnover
Do you
for like
remember
a
who he
week.
was playing with that year?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who
That
was
really doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
we're talking about the individual player here, not the team.
Okay, but that team was very,
Look,
very
Marcus
good,
Morris
to be honest.
averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds.
Good
last
shooter
season.
in 25 minutes. He'll probably play more than that with the Pistons.
Right. He'll probably play about 29, 32 minutes a game in that area. And I'm going to take Marcus Morris running the small forward position while Stanley Johnson plays about 15 minutes a game and learns from him.
Okay, how about this? Can you meet me halfway? How about a quarter in the season? If Stanley Johnson is looking super good, I mean, he's looking great coming off the bench, even equal to Marcus Morris, and Marcus Morris is just having an average season. Would you consider a quarter way into the season or maybe halfway in the season moving Stanley Johnson into the starting lineup? Because, I mean, I really, really do believe that this kid is part of the future, and would you guys consider that?
I do agree that he's part of the future and he's going to be a very good player, but he's a couple years away. He looked very good in the summer league.
19, yeah.
Yeah.
Just turned 19.
He's not ready to just step into that starting.
Well, that's why I say a
role
quarter
in
in the
the NBA.
season, halfway in
He's-
the season. Would you yes or no?
He needs. That's why I think we should keep Danny Granger because Stanley Johnson still has a lot to learn
Mhm.
offensively. His shooting needs some work. Not a very good shooting mechanics. He shot 50% at the free throw line in the summer league. Needs some help there, and he looked very good in the summer league. Don't get me wrong, but who's he playing against? Fringe NBA players.
And I've always wanted Stanley Johnson over Justice Winslow. I've been the biggest supporter of Stanley Johnson I think there is. I fell in love with Stanley Johnson's game. But I'm taking an NBA veteran that has produced well in his minutes over a rookie that's 19. He just turned 19. He's one of the youngest players out of the draft. And he played well in the summer league. But look at it this way. He didn't shoot well from the free throw line. Now, I don't know. I mean, he was a good free throw shooter in college, so maybe it was just nerves. But the kid's a hell of a competitor. He gives 100%. But Marcus Morris knows the ropes of the game. He should no doubt be a starter. There's no questions asked
Right.
that he should be the starter. Stan Van said it. So, Cal, stop pouting. It's over. Marcus Morris will be starting.
Stanley Gunn even said it.
There you go, Cal.
Maybe
I said my question was a quarter or halfway into the season.
yeah, maybe throughout the season if Johnson is playing extremely well, but I can't see him averaging more than 7 or 8 points a game this season.
Right, and we just had a tweet come in. I'm going to read it to you guys. While it loads here. KCP was horrible in Summer League his rookie year, and it carried over to the regular season. Stanley Johnson, well, I think I'm going to take from the content that he's great in Summer League, so he's saying start him.
A lot of players have been very bad in the Summer League and ended up being very good. You can't really correlate those two.
Summer League is a whole different game because Stanley Johnson was playing against Solomon Hill, and that's just to name one of the guys who was actually in the
Jordan
NBA.
Hamilton.
Yeah. So he's not playing against LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony.
He called
Paul
out
George.
LeBron James. You guys be done
Yeah.
on that?
Yeah. Like, look, the competition is so much different. You can't justify saying start him when he has not played against those guys. Marcus Morris has. Marcus Morris has played against most, I would assume, all those guys. And when you're in a division where the small forward spot is, fairly decent, when you got LeBron and Paul George, two of probably the top 5 small forwards in the league, your guy has to know how to play the small forward position, has to be able to defend and produce on the offensive end.
Let me ask you guys a question. Would you consider Marcus Morris to be a good NBA player or a solid NBA player? By solid, I mean just a little above average.
I say good.
You think he's good? And
Solid.
I think
He's somewhere in between
to
good
be a
and solid.
good small forward in the NBA.
He is a quality starter.
I'll be honest. I've
quality.
heard the name a couple times, and I haven't heard much about Marcus Morris, and that's why dude.
He's very versatile offensively. He might struggle defensively because
I think it's scary that Ilyasova and Marcus Morris are going to be 2 of our starters next season. I just think that we're not solid in our starting 5.
Look at those Magic teams. Who's there? Hidu Turkoglu and Brandon Bass.
I know, but those Magic teams were a team. I don't think we're a team yet. I think we still have. What are you talking? The Magic, they operated as one. They were a very, very, very good team. And from what I've seen in this Pistons team last year, we didn't work well.
This is a new team.
This is
but we still have to develop chemistry.
Right.
They still have to learn to trust each other. They still got to get to know each other. A lot of these guys don't even know each other yet, so it's going to take time. That Magic team played together, and they operated together great as a team.
Chemistry is not going to be an issue for the Pistons.
It's not.
It's been an issue for the Pistons.
Not anymore.
In previous years.
Reggie Jackson, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and Andre Drummond.
They all want to be here.
Look, after we dropped Josh Smith, we were much better.
Last
team.
year,
we had the question.
Once Josh Smith
last year was
gone,
chemistry.
Our chemistry was amazing.
Our chemistry was amazing. So when we made all these when Stan Van Gundy made all these wild trades, bringing in Reggie Jackson, we didn't have any chemistry problems. How many did we lose in a row when Reggie Jackson came?
When the master went to work and made those moves.
Oh God, man.
As one of our writers, Nick Kamaj, however you say it, Kamai, something.
Yeah.
He wrote in his article, it was titled Stan Van Gundy, the Mastermind, and he just outlined all the moves that Stan Van Gundy has made. And
the guy is a legitimate mastermind, guys. He
knows basketball. He knows how important.
I'm not denying that.
DJ Augustine and Kyle
Singler chemistry
for a max player that totally fits with Andre Drummond and Contavious Caldwell-Pope. That pick and roll with Andre Drummond, and then you have Contavious Caldwell-Pope that can spot up and slash to the basket. That's a masterful offense. It's not a very complex offense, but it worked, and it's going to continue to work. We added a spot-up shooter in Ersan Ilyasova that can rebound and can play the 5 if needed. When Andre gets in foul trouble or, we have to take him out to his free throw inabilities.
Looks great on paper, but will they have chemistry? Will they work together?
It doesn't look great on paper, but
No, I said I think it looks good on paper. I do. I think if you put those 5 together, you have a solid team, but will they work together as a team well? And that's been the question about Pistons teams for the last several years. That's been the problem. Last season when Reggie Jackson came in, we didn't work good together as a team.
For the first 1 or 2 games.
That's why the chemistry, you get chemistry by playing together. They have the chemistry now.
But next season is going to be like a whole brand new team now. It is. Okay. It's another brand new team. So it's going to take them time, and that's why I'm worried that we're not going to the playoffs next season.
Drummond, he is a great guy.
Mhm.
All the teammates love him.
Yeah.
Same with KCP. Same with Jackson. They all want to be here.
Good.
Stan Van Gundy is a hard-nosed coach who doesn't accept any BS like Josh Smith. That's why I got
You
rid of
guys are
him.
misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not talking locker room problems. I'm not talking character problems. I'm talking chemistry, as in these guys have not played together. These guys are still getting to know each other. It's going to take time.
They've
and
all
that's why
been together
this is a
this
completely new
offseason.
team.
So, okay, but we were talking about Stanley starting. They still have to get in that chemistry with Stanley starting either way.
Marcus Morris is new. That's the problem, though. Where we have a new team. It is Ilyasova starting at the 4. That's going to be very new to the Pistons. In Drummond, it's going to be new to Drummond. This team is so brand new, and it's going to take a lot of adjusting, and they are going to learn they're going to have to learn how to build up chemistry on the court. I'm not talking off the court. Off the court, I think we have a pretty solid, good group of guys. I think most of the guys have good character besides Marcus Morris, who's had a few off-the-court issues.
They're not worried about that, though.
That's why they separated the Morris brothers.
Cool.
When you separate those two guys, it should be fine because they're not looking
but on the court.
fight.
Can they build that chemistry? I don't know. It might take some time.
I don't think the Pistons are a very new team. They have, let's see, 2 new starters, and in Morris and Ilyasova. A few new bench pieces, but they all seem to get along so far well. They're all welcoming each other to the team. Training camp is soon. I'm sure they've all at least met each other. I don't think chemistry is going to be an issue at all.
Chemistry.
On court how?
Can they play together?
Yes, because they practice.
You can't just throw 5 good NBA players on a court and expect them to compete against.
But
guys
they
who
all
play together for a
complement
long
each
time.
other. Because Jackson is extremely solid in the pick and roll. Drummond is very good in the pick and roll. They run the pick and roll with those 2 guys. They have Morris, KCP, and Ilyasova on the wings, 2 guys in the corner. So you run the pick and roll, and if the lob to Drummond isn't there, you can pass out to one of our players on the wing, and if the shot's not there, they can get to the basket, and if they do miss a shot, you have Ilyasova can crash the boards from the perimeter, who has been not a great but a solid rebounder. And you have Drummond, who is arguably the best, if not the second best rebounder in the NBA. So that's going to be our identity on the court. And I think just that combination of offensive players complementing each other is just going to be really deadly on offense.
8 new players this season. 8 from last season, and last season was a brand new team in itself. We have 8 new players.
Yes, but that's what Stan Van Gundy did. He obviously has this planned out. He made 6 trades since being here.
He brings in high character guys.
So what I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is, next year isn't the year then. Maybe next year isn't the playoff year. Maybe it's going to take another year.
I don't know about that.
Dude, it's 8 new players. I think we have 7 coming back from last year. Dude,
it's going to be a mosh pit at the bottom.
Weren't the Cavs a brand new team?
They had LeBron James, Kevin Love. They brought in a ton.
Yeah, but how many new players?
Superstars.
How many new players did they bring in?
It can all. We brought in rookies and Danny Granger.
That doesn't matter. New players can mesh together.
I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying it's going to take time regardless. And time is something the Pistons do not have.
Okay, you know what? All right, let's move on then.
Okay. This might be a topic that we can all agree on. We have about 7 minutes left. Andre Drummond is seeking a contract extension.
Let him walk.
He is the centerpiece of our franchise and one of the best upcoming players in the NBA.
Oh, come on, please, Cal.
I'm not gonna turn that into an argument. That was a very bold statement by you.
I'm about to kick
who's better than Drummond? Okay. Can maybe name 5 players that are his age.
Hassan Whiteside's 25 times better.
I'm just gonna say one thing. People were comparing him to Dwight Howard. He's always better than.
He's not
at this stage at Dwight Howard's career. A couple seasons in,
I said upcoming players, not best centers right now. Right. There are a lot better centers than him right now.
He's still probably top 5 starter. Top 10 at least.
Yeah, he is still a top 10 center, and he's probably the second. Not even probably. I think he is the second best big man coming up in the NBA. behind Anthony Davis. And I think the Pistons need to make it a priority to bring him back as soon as possible.
I think getting it done this year, kind of like they did with the Pelicans did with Anthony Davis, and like the Trailblazers did with Damian Lillard. I think that's what we need to do.
Right.
Having that, security, knowing that your star, your centerpiece is going to be with you for the next set of years, that just helps you continue to build your roster around him and get, he's our star. Okay.
Yeah. And
you're not going to say, you can't say right now Stanley Johnson's our star over Andre Drummond because we don't know what Stanley Johnson is going to be yet.
No, but here's the problem, you guys. I think it's 100% a fact that Drummond will be here in a Pistons uniform for years to come. He wants to be here. We want him here. He is our franchise. He's our franchise player. We definitely want to build around him. But the issue with the money, isn't he going to wait out next season so he can get a bigger contract?
Well,
didn't you read about that? I actually don't know the specific name for it. But can you give me the name of the money, the salary is going up?
Yeah,
right?
it's going up.
Be $90 million next season.
Okay, no, 70.
70?
It's going up from 63 to 70 next season.
He's going to wait for that money.
Then the year after that, it's going up to 100 million because of the league's new TV deal. But Drummond wants that extension now. So I think the Pistons need to make it a huge priority to do it now because you're going to save some money.
Yeah.
You're going to save a lot of money. He's probably going to get over 100 million.
I don't understand why he wouldn't wait, though.
But because here's the reason, Cal. Big men tend to be a bit injury prone.
He could get injured and lose that money. That's also true. Yeah.
You finish it for me. If you want that financial security.
All I'm saying is if we do not sign him this season, it just so happens that we have to wait till next season because he does decide that he wants to take the risk and wait for the bigger money. Do not panic because he is ours. He will re-sign with us.
He wants to be here. Yeah,
this is his team. He's going to spend the rest of I don't want to say the rest of his career here, but the prime years of his career he will spend here. His best years in the NBA will be spent with the Detroit Pistons.
I hope he's a lifetime Piston. I think he's going to be top 5 big man in the near future. I think he'll average about 18 and 15 a night next season.
Possibly. Once he develops a post game and you can throw him the ball in the post and he can make plays, then he's just going to be so dangerous with his combination of rebounding ability on both ends. He's not a great defender yet, but he's shown flashes of being a very good rim protector. Mm-hmm. And he's shown flashes of a post game.
The rebounding machine.
Just not consistent. Once he develops that consistency on offense, and he gets his free throw percentage up, and he
get up to 60%.
He stays out of foul trouble. He's going to be the second best big man in the NBA, in maybe 5 years behind Anthony Davis. Yeah. I'm gonna stick to that prediction because
no one's gonna top Anthony Davis, but Andre Drummond's going to be up there.
He's
with him.
Probably going to be second or third behind him because that matchup, Pistons Pelicans, is just going to be a really fun matchup.
Future of the NBA. Pistons are the future of the NBA. They are part of the future.
So I agree. Along with the Bucks.
Maybe. Bucks have a brutal. I'll tell you what. That starting 5 is exciting.
Yeah. If they could shoot the ball.
Who you got? Michael Carter Williams.
Can't shoot.
Greek the Freak.
Can't shoot.
Chris Middleton.
Can't shoot.
Jabari Parker
and Greg Monroe. Get out of here. That's a powerful team.
We've all seen Monroe can't shoot.
They're not going to be a shooting team though.
I think it's a top 4 seed team.
They're going to be a
you have to win by shooting
minded team.
You have to win by shooting.
I disagree. I think
if you can get
I don't like
easy
this whole
baskets,
idea that the NBA is only small ball now. I don't like that.
No, but I don't agree with that either. But I mean, teams have to be able to shoot the 3 at a high level. You can't just have one guy that can hit the 3 and another that can hit some mid-range.
A couple guys.
I don't know their exact roster, but I'm sure they have bench pieces.
Yeah, for
who
sure.
Can shoot.
But it's dangerous to not to have a shooter on your starting 5.
Right, I'm sure they do have
but
shooters.
They're huge, man. The length
on that team, that's going to be a scary defensive team.
They're going to be really good defensively.
Nice new uniforms.
They're going to be.
I like them. I'm digging it, man.
They're going to be deadly in transition with all their athleticism and length. They're going to be a fun team to watch.
Could be the shape up of the next version of the Grizzlies defensively.
Why don't we get the Pistons in the uniforms?
Seriously,
watching this.
Got a minute. We got a minute left. Why don't we talk about that?
Any connections with the Detroit Pistons organization? Get us some new uniforms and new logo. We're bored.
Yeah.
Honestly, get us some new color. Not new
we
colors.
We need a new identity for the
future.
future. The Hawks are doing it. The Bucks are doing it.
Green. That bold.
The Hornets did it with their
green.
new court. I think it's time to go in a new direction. But
For sure.
I
It's
mean,
all about-
this logo is just so historic, and I don't know if they could change it. But
Here.
the legendary blanket that was a giveaway at one of the Pistons games last year. All right, I think that just about wraps it up for us today. Cal Novara
Yo, take care, you guys.
and does some podcasts for us. Could be writing some articles for us too. PistonsNation.net. I'm Anthony Cardamone, and I'm the CEO, I could say, of Pistons Nation, and I'm the founder and stuff. So, I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I'm proud of it. I'm proud of our website and what we've become, and I write some articles for us. I do some podcasts, and Aaron Johnson, editor-in-chief, great writer,
You stepped
good
up.
on podcasts, helped us a lot here. Got a great young core here, Pistons Nation. Check out the website, read our articles, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Got a lot of great stuff coming.
And one last thing.
Mhm.
Just because they're good in 2K doesn't mean they're good in real life.
Right. That's the motto here. All right. Thank
To
you
all our
guys.
Instagram followers.
Yeah. Thank you guys.